All right, I'm not even gonna lie. Tonight's lineup of bottles caught my attention on the show Billions. While that show may have came to an end, tonight's show is just getting started. Stay tuned for the 8th day of whiskey. Welcome to a trifecta of whiskeys fit for both axe and wags. I'm Cyncere, and tonight we're diving into all things Michters. We're going back to the original format for this one. I'll be tasting each whiskey, judging each whiskey, then determining whether it makes the nice or the naughty list. Before we kick it off, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and stay up to date on all things simple whiskey. So we've covered rye spice and everything nice, bonded bourbons, bourbons dubbed public enemy #1, and so much more. So if you're home for the holidays, grab your favorite bottle of Michters and let's get it poppin'. On the 8th day of whiskey, my true love gave to me 8 drams of Michter, 7 bondeds bonding, 6 wooden cases, 5 local blends, 4 Bardstown birds, 3 Willet gems, 2 rice to love, and a mash bill the same as Pappy. Definitely sound more like the Grinch than Leslie Odom Jr., but 'tis the season. At least I don't have to drink as much tea and water, but my voice still isn't quite what it used to be, so I'll just continue to sound like Barry White meets Grinch. We have 3 great Michter's options tonight: sour mash, the straight bourbon, and the American whiskey. None of these are all that pricey. None of these are all that proofy. There are quite a few bottles from the Michter's line that I haven't had a chance to sip that are highly sought after, like the Michter's 10 lineup, as well as their celebration collection. If you've had any of their prize bottles, leave me a comment down below and let me know, did you like it? How much did you pay for it? And was it worth it? So all of these bottles come in around the $40 to $45 mark. They are a little bit lower proof on the palate. I think 2 of them may be lower than what I would start out with for a warm up for most videos. So even though tonight's first sip will be one of these, this would be more along the lines of what I would warm up with for a majority of my videos. Michter's bourbon is sold here in Virginia, normally on the shelves in most of the stores. I happen to pick mine up for the final season premiere of Billions. I found the sour mash in a store in West Virginia visiting for the 4th of July. As you can see, I've had quite a bit of it. Has been a little bit since I had a pour of it, so I am curious to see if it's opened up any of the flavor profile change once we get into a deep dive. The American whiskey I scooped up at the most recent drop. I do believe the American whiskey and the sour mash are both allocated here in Virginia. I've seen both on the shelves outside of Virginia on regular shelves. Virginia ABC, if you're listening, you don't have to allocate everything. While I have had experience with all 3 of them, I've had the least with the unblended American whiskey. So what's up next? We're gonna crack all 3 bottles, nose them, sip them, give a little bit of feedback, add a little bit of water to each one, go back through the same process, rinse, wash, repeat. Then we're gonna do a micro list, go over a couple of the details of each bottle. Then we're gonna determine whether it should make the nice or the naughty list. Let's get to cracking. So the sour mash. It's so weird that over the past, what are we on, day 8, 7 days of videos, everything has been so potent that you put your nose so close to the glass and you're gonna get blasted with heat. Well, I don't get that from this one. The sour mash is 86 proof, which may be why I don't get quite that heavy heat. So I get a little bit light oak, a little bit of maybe honey, something kind of sweet, something kind of faint. Again, nothing too bold on the nose for the first one. So B, or the bourbon, I guess no A, B, C if we're not blinding, but just for me to keep track of them. So for the bourbon, so that's the bourbon nose I was looking for that says, wake up and smell your bourbon. It's cold outside. Caramel, vanilla, a little more ethanol than what I got on the sour mash. but ultimately light oak. Let's try C, or the unblended American whiskey. So this one is similar to the sour mash. The proof on this one, oh, it's only 83.4 proof. I almost found myself putting my nose deep into the Glencairn to pull out more from these. Caramel and vanilla on this one as well. But it's nowhere near as bold as the bourbon. The real difference on this one is towards the end of the nose, I get some sort of a fruit. Maybe even an apricot. Let's start with the sour mash. It's really light. I definitely get a little bit of honey. It just catches me so off guard to not get not even a Kentucky handshake out of that one. By no means do I just want it to burn and put hair on your chest, but it's weird when you get a sip, when you get a neat pour, it doesn't seem to burn. I think this one would be great for someone that's just starting out trying to go away from only drinking whiskey and cocktails or only drinking whiskey on ice. Whenever you're ready to step into neat whiskey, this is an 86 proofer that I think would be good for cutting your teeth on without worrying about, it just tastes like the ethanol alcohol taste. This right here has a nice honey taste to it. That's the main note dominating this, is a smoother honey and not a lot of bite. So I think this is a good one to start with. I should have probably went with this one next, but we're going to jump straight into the 90 plus proof US straight bourbon. So this one, while it's not like a crazy bite, I do believe the sour mash got my palate warmed up properly. So maybe it was good to start with the lowest proof one, no different than I would if I had a warm up bourbon for tonight. But then coming into this 90 proofer, that caramel is very rich, very flavorful. I could see myself sipping this fall day. When I get some of these like this, it is refreshing to not have to warm up to the bourbon or let the bourbon warm up to you. And that's what this does. Like I said, that sweet caramel, a little bit of vanilla, a hint of oak on the finish. And the finish is neither finish is extremely long, but both are pleasant. So let's get into C, unblended American whiskey. This one is also very palatable. This one is really sweet. I still get a little bit of butterscotch. I still get that vanilla, maybe even a hint of honey. I don't get as much oak on this one. The only one that I get true oak on would be the bourbon. I get a little bit of light oak on the sour mash, but again, this turns into something a little more aromatic, fruity, even on the finish. So I'm going to do what I probably shouldn't do and add water to already low proof whiskey. That was the theme prior to my voice going out, me blinding everything. We were doing first sip through regular, second sip through with water, and then doing a final breakdown. So let's do that. All right, so the water's been added. Everything's had time to settle. Let's go back through them. So the sour mash, even sweeter than before, even less ethanol than before. So that honey really comes out. I no longer get that small smoky oaky that I got in the beginning. Just honey. Let's see what it tastes like. So it's way too flat for my palate, but I do recall back in the day when I couldn't even fathom drinking anything without ice in it or in a mixed drink. So when in doubt, put your drop or two of water in it until it goes to your liking and to where you can actually palate it. I still get a lot of that honey. It's just unfortunately very flat. Let's see what the water did to B or the bourbon. So this caramel is more almost like a sugar-free caramel, how it has it different. I don't know why. That's me. I'm getting like not even a lighter scented caramel, but it's a little bit off in terms of the caramel. Whereas before I got caramel and vanilla with oat, now I get sugar-free caramel. Like you had it. Never mind. Not even gonna go there. Let's give it a taste. So the back end bite is completely gone on this one as well. It almost gives me a cream soda taste though. It's a real good taste, but it tastes like flat cream soda now. Again, not my preference, but for the sake of at least trying to see if it will work or if it was worth it, it may be. Again, if you don't like it, I would love to have my wife try these three. Maybe I'll get her on the next video when I go through the second round of them. Let her compare her first sip neat, and then let me mix the water in, let her take them with the water in and see if they become more palatable. In her mind, she hates bourbon. Half the time she won't even try it, and she says it just tastes like alcohol. So we'll see. C, unblended American whiskey on the nose. I get much of nothing on this nose. And my nose it's been stopped up for the last 4 days, and I've always been able to get something. This one, a video or two ago, it was something I smelled, and I said it was like almost didn't have a scent. This is what I get with this. Is like it's not a whole lot going on nose-wise now. Let's give it a sip. So I do still get the butterscotch, surprisingly, though. And it's actually really sweet, really good, really smooth. The finish is pretty much lackluster now, but overall, I wouldn't add water to any of these. Typically, I don't add water to a whole lot of my whiskey, but when I do, sometimes it'll open it up and give you a couple of different flavors that you don't usually get. In this instance, it pretty much muted or dulled down a lot of the flavors. So again, if you are usually anti-drinking anything neat in fear of the burn, then maybe add a little bit of water to them. Maybe start with 3 drops, and I don't mean 3 full droppers. I just mean 3 drops. Swivel, sniff, sip, 3 drops. Do it in increments of 3 drops. I think that I did 5 drops-ish per glass just to get enough water in there to change it. Unfortunately for me, it changed it a little too much. So a really quick, simple listing on this one, just to get a beat on whether or not they make the Naughty or Nice list, and my recommendations based off of everything we just covered. So for the Sour Mash, MSRP $44, secondary pricing $60, proof 86 proof, distillery Michter's, Naughty or Nice list. This is still a nice list whiskey for me. Whenever I think of whiskeys to just ease into a night or just ease after a dinner, you're not wanting something too heavy. You're not wanting something that's going to burn your house down. What you're wanting is something to just continue to stimulate your palate and keep the flow from dinner to dessert to after dinner conversation going. This would definitely be one that I would recommend. What I will challenge you to do is, as you continue to evolve your palate, if you're currently in a stage where every time you have a sip, it's on the rocks, try something like this that's in the lower 80s and see if that gives you a little bit more of that caramel flavor, that honey and things of that nature that we get on this one. So on the bourbon, MSRP 41, secondary is 60, proof 91.4 proof, distillery Michter's, Naughty or Nice list. For me, this one goes on the naughty list solely because I feel like you could get an Elijah Craig small batch for cheaper and get a little bit more traditional bourbon. I know it's 3 proof points higher. I think it's 94 proof for the small batch Elijah Craig. I would rather go with that. I would even rather say cut your teeth on a Wild Turkey 101 as opposed to $43 on this one. It's enjoyable. It has its own little caramel vanilla thing going on. But I feel like at that stage, you can get so many more notes for something a lot less than this Michter's. All right, Michter's Unblended American Whiskey. MSRP on this one, $44. Secondary pricing, $65. Proof, 83.4 proof. Distillery, Michter's. Simple listing. It's not on the naughty list because it's bad. It's just on the naughty list because the things that I know that you can get from a flavor profile, from a cutting your teeth on whiskeys that are nowhere near as hard to find and things of that nature. So if you ever see these out at a secondary price, of all 3 of these, I think I paid above secondary for this one. I bought it in West Virginia. I would not buy it again above MSRP. I don't think I would pay above MSRP for any of these. My love of Michter's is also tied to my love of the show Billions. So I will always have some Michter's in my collection. Hopefully it's the 10 year, the celebration, so I can move on up and move out of the entry-level Michter's category. If you've had a chance to try any of these expressions, whether you like them, dislike them, love them, hate them, leave me a comment below. Let me know. And remember, this is solely my thoughts, my palate. Given I remember when this was strong the first time I had it years ago, before I even realized what allocated bottles were, this was one that I remember thinking was kind of strong. So as your palate evolves, as you continue along your journey, you're going to change, no different than I'm changing. I'm not saying don't go out and buy these. What I'm saying is for me, knowing what I know now, I would recommend you in different directions depending on what you're looking to try to do. So that does it for tonight's Lifestyles of the Not So Rich or Proofy. Before we sign off, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell to stay up to date on all things simple whiskey. Looking forward to the next episode tomorrow. Cheers to a spirited holiday season. Keep it simple.